greetings from Slovenia. As we discussed, it's you are 7 hours behind us, so live
Yeah,
from Texas. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I don't know if you heard, but your Slovenian emergency clinic took care of me as good as they could. But I'm gonna kind of try to condense this. But when we left Greece, the night in Athens, I started feeling like a bug coming on. And I thought, oh, maybe it's my allergies or something. But then I started developing this nonstop cough, and it wouldn't stop. And that, yeah, it was probably the one of the best nights that I sang. And so, anyways, after the show, the next morning we got up. We had to take the flight to Slovenia, and thank God I had 2 days off. But still, it didn't really matter. But when we got to Slovenia, Matej arranged a situation for me to go to the emergency, and of course, like over there, you guys take care of everybody, not like here. Oh, you ain't got no insurance. You go. We're gonna give a fuck if you die. Yeah, right. Hey, the guy's having a heart attack. But he doesn't have insurance. Yeah, right. So yeah, so he just dies in the lobby. Yeah, sorry. But they took care of me and they gave me all these tests and did all this and did all that. And at the end of the day, the doctor told Matej that, unfortunately, I know he has 2 days off, but what he has is not going to go away in 2 days. I don't care how much medication I give him or whatever. He has walking pneumonia.
Yeah,
And
because I remember from Medvoda when we were at first supposed to have this conversation,
right.
everybody was sick and all that, and I thought that your situation got better. So, I mean, hopefully now you're better or something.
Yeah. But well, so basically the show in Slovenia went very well. So
Mm-hmm.
the 2 day rest did help. But because of being ill, I was really pushing my voice. So it started getting worse and worse as the days were going by. Because when you're in that situation, you're not using your voice properly. You're pushing it, And so out of all of the shows we did in mainland Europe, they all turned out great except two. The one in Italy and the one in Belgium. And I felt so bad. But the fans, they were very supportive. And they said, hey, well, at least you're not a pussy like a lot of people and canceled. No, I still went on stage, but I didn't have any of my high notes, which is my signature mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have told me, come on, James, give me that last note and all hell burning stuff, I would have said, go ahead and pull the trigger because I can't. If you had a gun to my head and said, dude, I want you to hit that note. Yeah, it was very frustrating. Um, and more than frustrating, it was heartbreaking because these people came to see a show and yet I did as best as I could. And at the end of the night, they were all like, you still sounded amazing. I said, yeah, keep drinking more beer. I know better. I sounded like shit, but I think it was their way of saying, hey, he didn't cancel. He went up there and still kicked ass
Yeah,
150%.
definitely. That was a big plus also in my book, especially because I mean, also the whole traveling around and all
Yes.
that. It for sure didn't help the whole situation.
No. And that's what the doctor said. He said, and because of the situation you're in, he goes, if you had a week off, maybe you'd get over it, but there's no way, and now you're going to do this show 2 days. Then you're going to travel to Italy, do another show. Then you're going to travel to Germany, do another show and another. He goes, you're not going to get the proper rest. He goes, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you probably will not be 100% well till you get home. And I'm like, damn it, and I'm just like, well, but when we got to Spain, I was 95% there. So I was happy that my voice came back. And then Matej helped me a lot with some warm-up exercises. And so that helped a lot. But I've never been in that situation in the 40 something years of my career. But, walking pneumonia I looked it up and I said, "Oh my God, people die from this shit."
Yeah, you should be careful, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we move to our so to your latest album, The Devil's Masquerade, you have just finished with European leg of your tour for the album. Based on critics and fans and all that, album seems to be really well received. How do you feel? Are you? I guess you are more than satisfied with the results.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are saying it's one of the best records ever. And I think that the reason why is because we recaptured the traditional Helstar along with the Helstar of today in the most perfect way that we could. And it's a beautiful feeling when you walk out on stage and you open up with the Devil's Masquerade and the whole crowd is already singing the chorus. Then you did something right. Yeah. So uh, I think that I'm very pleased with the results. And now we don't want to hesitate to start writing the new record. And we want to keep it in the same vein and yet maybe a little few things different here and there so it doesn't sound the same. But I think we've really found our niche again to what Hellstar should sound like from here on out.
Yeah, definitely, because it's like a rule of 10 or maybe 11, so that it doesn't overstate is welcome. And yeah, it's once it's done, you can just repeat once and again, because
Again,
during the whole preparation thing for either concert or this conversation, I heard it like, I guess, 10 times or so. And yeah, not a weak song on it. I mean, yeah, there are some, let's say, personal favorites and all that, but it's album rips. Yeah. This album came out in September, so making the longest gap between the albums in your catalog. It was 9 years.
yeah.
While I was doing a research, I found more, let's say, it was a, let's say, a combination of various reasons. So you changed your label, then your guitar
Yeah.
player Andrew left, and you have also, let's say, restarted the whole recording thing. You have used some old ideas that were being kept in the vault. Can you maybe explain us the whole timeline? So I guess old ideas are originating from where? From, let's say, 2017, 2018, or is there something older than that?
Well, what happened is after Vampiro, which was a great record as well, um, we that was 2016. And we went with being with Dave Ellison's label, which he started, but he didn't stay on top of things. And because him and I have such a long friendship relationship, I kind of trusted the idea. But really, at the end of the day, the label doesn't even exist anymore, nothing like that. So before I left AFM, they wanted to keep Hellstar, but they were going to go down on the advance. And I said, no, usually when you keep giving you albums, you go up on the advances. But I understood that the record business was, it's kind of hurting all the way around. CDs don't even hardly sell anymore because everybody wants to stream. And well, hell, nowadays all the cars are made, they don't have CD players anymore. So, it kind of makes sense to me. But I guess when I went back to them and I said, hey, this isn't working, they said, well, we're closing our doors pretty soon too, but we work with Massacre. And I've had a long relationship with Thomas. And they said, but I think he would be glad to take you over. So he says, I'm copying in Thomas into this email. Thomas wrote back right away and said, I would love to have Hellstar. So what happened is we started off slow. And I said, well, let's do a single. And that's when your boys from Slovenia came to Texas and they saw two Hellstar shows. And they did that first video of a single called Black Wings of Solitude, which is like our big ballad, now. And they put that out. And then we did an EP that included Black Wings of Solitude again, but with some different arrangements, and 2 other new Helstar songs. And then we did 3 covers, and that was called the Clad in Black EP. So it wasn't like 9 years went by where we weren't putting out anything. We were just doing little things at a time.
Yeah, I meant like the full album was, yeah.
Yeah, the full album. So when the full album was getting ready to get, as we were sitting there looking at it, what we thought in the beginning was that we were going to go ahead and add the 3 new songs that were on the EP. Then all we had to do was write maybe 6, 7 more songs. But as time started going by, the more we thought about it, we're like, yeah, that's kind of cheating the fans, though. They already heard Black Wings of Solitude twice, once as a single, now again on the EP. And then Larry says, nah, man, we just need to write 10, 11 more new songs, period. And we started that. But in the process of it, that's when we started coming across other hurdles. Not only was it between us and a member that left, it was also the label was going through some crap, and they didn't even know if they were going to exist anymore. And if they didn't exist, they were automatically going to just give us to Nuclear Blast, which was their mothership of things. So Massacre was going through some political stuff for a year, and the record was delivered to them 2 years ago, finished. Oh. Right. So it was a combination of, okay, now Andrew's gone. We're going to take all his songs out of the equation. Then me and Larry went to work and said, all right, well, now we got to write 7 more new songs, And so we're like, damn it, yeah. And that was not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I think it was a blessing. He had some great ideas and all that, but we were clashing with a lot of things, and he just wasn't happy anymore. And, you don't want somebody in the band that's not happy. You just want them to, because then they bring you a bunch of negativity. And so, and whatever. And you can say, oh, well, the negativity was caused because of you. Well, maybe it was, but I am who I am. Me and Larry run this band, and that's the way it is, And so from that moment on, we had to pretty much write the whole record all over again last June. And so, but Larry had all these ideas and these things that he kept in the vault, and he started sending me stuff. And the more he sent me stuff, the quicker I would send him back my ideas. And he goes, dude, I think we got something here. Then the next thing you know, the songs came out so much better. And really, it all comes down to, it's the traditional Helstar, Barragan and Rivera, and leave it at that. That may come across as egotistical, but no, it's not. It is the chemistry that we have had for 45 years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it surely worked for Jagger and Richards combo or the Toxic Twins, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so Helstar is Barragan and Rivera. And as long as those 2 guys are alive, from here on out, we can keep spitting out songs left and right because we know how to think. We think a lot, we know how to write. We have that marriage. We have that bond. And no, we're not gay. But but anyways, you know what I mean? We know what the Helstar fans want.
Yeah, definitely. After all these years, yeah, you like you said, old marriage where everybody knows lots of things about their let's say significant other. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going like, God damn it, you're an ugly wife. Fuck you. Can you at least grow some hair or something? I'm just kidding. No, Larry's my God. You know what? I wouldn't know what to do if something ever happened to him. Really. He is like he's my solid rock, that I depend on, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess you went through trenches with him and all that, and yeah, since the day one, and I can only imagine how let's say strong that bond can be.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. We went through the trenches together. We survived. We went to World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, Afghanistan, and yet we came out of it alive.
Yeah, and can you maybe tell us? So you've mentioned that you are already, let's say, playing with ideas how the follow up could look like. Can you maybe tell us what is the, let's say, the timeline? I mean, what's now in the works? Yeah, I mean, now there'll be a Christmas season and all that. You'll be having your well-deserved break. But after the New Year's, what's on the horizon?
Well, Alon and Larry are going to start getting together with some compositions. Me and Alon are going to start getting together with some ideas and vocal melodies. I would say that realistically, although it sounds like a long time, but it really isn't compared to 9 years, I would say that people can expect the new Helstar record in as short as 2 years. And that's realistic, and that's not long if you think about it. But to do it the record right and not rush it, everything has to feel good. Everything has to be the Devil's Masquerade Part 2, the Devil's Masquerade Part 3, and on and on and on. And but not so that it's exactly the same. The only bands that get away with that is like Iron Maiden. They have rewritten the number of the beast 100 times and nobody cares, you know. But if you really listen to it, all they did was change the words, maybe a chorus here and there, but it's all the same shit, you know. And we don't want to be one of those bands like, oh, it's the same old crap again. We want it to be traditional, and we want it to be yes, this is what we expect from Hellstar, but we don't want it to be a repetitive thing over and over again, where it sounds like, oh, the band just got lazy and just threw shit out there. You know, that's another thing. And, you know, maybe that was wrong of me of saying that, but I know that a lot of the big bands do that. But look how long they've been around. What else can you do at that point, really? You know, let's just rewrite Peace of Mind.
They have become like a more of a brand than a band, I would say.
That's the terminology I was looking for. A brand, exactly.
But on the other hand, I mean, this year I saw their the latest Run for the Life store, and I mean, since I was born in '94, and it's I guess one of the rare chances to see them play some classics and all that. But last year I saw in Zagreb in Croatia Bruce Dickinson's solo concert, and it's really interesting how he found, let's say, how creative he is. I mean, out of the
Yeah.
Maiden, he can experiment more, and his latest album was, I mean, I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no. I agree with that, and I think that's why he does that, because it allows him to do something different, you know, instead of, because when it comes to Iron Maiden, you know, we're not, I don't even know why we're talking about them. This is a Hellstar interview, but you know, but they're a big influence, and we love Iron Maiden. Steve Harris was really Iron Maiden, so at the end of the day, Bruce gets to do his own thing without Steve Harris being involved. You see, then that's, I think, why he does that, is because he wants to show that he is. I mean, the guy is a goddamn pilot. He's this, he's that, he's everything.
Yeah, that's the magic of podcast. We can we can have tangents, and we will jump a bit here, jump a bit there. Uh, so yeah, one of the tracks from your latest album is also "I'm the Way," where you got lots of awesome guests from Jason McMaster to George Cole and so on. So if I understood it correctly, this is supposed to be like a part one of your Texas Friends collaborations or something like that.
Yes, because there were so many singers that I felt bad that some of them didn't make it on there, which they should have. But the problem is, I didn't want to write some 20-minute song, you know? And so then in order to do that, we would have, yeah, the song would have been super long. But I went with the top names that have done things internationally on a big level. So I started there. That's why Jason McMaster, Rob Lowe, George Call, we know those guys have been to Europe, done festivals. They have done all kinds of stuff, And then, of course, Mike Solis is another favorite of mine from Militia and San Antonio Slayer now, too, as well. So, it had to start at a point where I chose singers that and had names out there that the European audience can relate to right out the gate. The only two that really didn't were some local guys here, but they're great singers, and I had to include them, and I just felt that way, But other than that, my choice that I made was because of, yes, everybody knows Rob Lowe. Come on, Solitude Eternus, Candlemass. Yeah, right. And you hear his voice just like that, right out the gate. Jason McMaster, come on, Watchtower, Dangerous Toys, on and on and on. Yeah, and George Call, God, he sang for how many different bands, and Aska, Omen, so it started there. And when I invited everybody to sing on the song, it was an automatic hell yeah. It wasn't like, and we're all friends for decades. So I just said, hey, I have this idea, and I got it from Dio's, We're Stars. And I just said, but I want to shine the Texas vocalist. And I kept it there because some other people started writing me from other bands, but they don't live in Texas, and they got their feelings hurt. And so I'm like, well, I'm shining Texas. I'm from Texas. I'm Texas proud. You know what? I wish I had a horse, but I don't. I have a Nissan, so, but, it is kind of one of those things where, and the real Texas metal scene, really, at the end of the day, was Helstar, San Antonio Slayer, Watchtower, Militia, Wicked Angel. I can go on and on and on, but it wasn't Pantera. They came in later in the 90s. And of course, they made it bigger than all of us, but they weren't really part of what we call the real Texas metal movement.
Yeah, from the early days.
Yes.
And from that era is also my next question. So let's stop for a bit by your Nosferatu album. That is one of fans' favorites. How do you remember that era? How did the album came about? Can you maybe tell us any interesting behind the scenes stories?
Well, actually, again, back to my second half, if you want to call him that, Larry, he's the one that came up with the idea. And, I've always been a Dracula fan from movies when I was a kid. And back in our day when we used to go to the movies, they don't do it that way no more. But you go to the movies, you saw 3 movies for 50 cents. Dracula, The Horror of Dracula, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. 3 movies. So you were at the movies from like 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 o'clock at night.
Oh,
And then you had cartoons in the middle, Yeah. So, anyways, he's the one that came up with the idea. And he said, man, I want to do a concept of Dracula. I didn't know that he was that much of a fan of Dracula like me. And so then he wrote Baptized in Blood, lyrics, music, everything. And then he said, what do you think? And then I said, dude. And then we ran with it. And then what happened is my childhood instincts came back to life. And I got so fascinated with vampires, Transylvania, Dracula, Bram Stoker, anything that I can think of. I read movies I'd watched over and over and over again. And before you knew it, the more music he kept sending me, and between both of us, lyrically, melodically, we just started creating our own version of a Dracula movie. And so really Nosferatu is an opera. It's our own version of our movie. If what we had a chance to make a movie this is what it would be about. And that's what happened. And then from there on out, guess what? James was transformed into a vampire, you know? So everything in my apartment went from blue, I don't know, green or whatever the hell stupid colors I had back then to black.
Yeah.
Everything went black. Then I even wanted to adopt some African fruit bats. And I looked into that. And so the people that I had to contact about that, they said, it's almost impossible. And I said, why? They're like, well, first of all, you're going to have an aquarium the size of your whole wall because they have to spread their wings for exercise. I go, what do you mean there? They go, well, no, you can't get one. I go, what do you mean you can't get one? They're like, no, they have to have a mate. And I'm like, oh, really? And so, like, yeah, you have to get a male and a female. And I'm like, hmm. And I go, what are the chances of them living in captivity like that? They go, probably, if you're lucky, maybe 2 months, 3 months, they'll die. Oh, this my heart broke. I'm like, no, I couldn't stand to see that, you know. So that idea went out the window. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to get me some African fruit bats then, you know. So yeah, but I became obsessed with the dark side of life and vampires again and the undead and then from there on out, I never wore anything else but black. And yeah, I became who I am. And in Nosferatu, yes, I guess I should have been Vampiro, but it was the time signature that the year that the record came out, the label said, no, we're not going to, you know, I wanted to be brought out in a coffin. I wanted the fangs. I wanted the whole wardrobe. And they're like, you know how much that's going to cost? In 1989, those labels already knew they were dropping all of us bands because they were getting ready to sign the guys with the flannel shirts shooting heroin and that looked like they never took a bath, which is called the grunge scene. And so that whole dream and idea just went down the toilet. But then when we came back with Vampiro, that's when I put my foot down and I said, no, this time I am walking out on stage like that. This time I am investing into this look. This time I'm adopting the name Vampiro Rivera, no longer James. I am the undead now. And I speak like my friends in Slovenia, you know. And that's the story about Nosferatu.
So we have already touched a bit the origins of the Nosferatu album, but can you maybe explain us? So Larry was the main guitar player on the record and all that, but but back then you also had Andra in the band.
Right.
Can you maybe explain to us how did these guys share the guitar duties? What was Andres' part of the whole playing and recording thing? So he was a guitar player and keyboards, and he was also a keyboard player.
No, that was Jerry that played the piano. Yeah, Jerry was the keyboard player. Well, piano player. A Barca. Um, to be honest, Andre really didn't even care about the whole vampire concept. He actually thought it was stupid. And really, at the end of the day, because we had a pretty big fallout with the guy, and he's got his side of the story, I got my side of the story. Really, all he was concerned about was showing off his abilities to get a better gig somewhere along the line. So he thought the whole vampire thing was stupid. And he really had nothing to do with the songwriting or anything, although he did write The Curse Has Passed Away musically, but he had other ideas for it. But I took it and I turned it into the end of the vampire story where Dracula finally gets killed. But he didn't really care for the whole vampire concept. It wasn't in his, thing. And so, I mean, that's all I got to say about him. I don't really want to say anything bad about him. We've made up since then. I'm sure that he still keeps up with what we're doing. But if somebody asked me, hey, how do I wouldn't be able to tell you how to even get a hold of Andre. I don't know. I don't even know where he lives anymore. Yeah, so it was kind of a weird thing like that. But Jerry wrote two of the most nostalgic songs in that album, but they have nothing to do with the vampire concept. They were, because if you remember, side one was the whole Dracula concept. Side two was just Helstar songs. And Jerry wrote the Benediction and Ilaria and Everon. And all that piano stuff that you hear on there, Jerry played it.
Because I was doing my research, and on Wikipedia it's credited that Andre also played keyboard. So that's the reason why I
Yeah.
asked you that. Yeah.
No, he didn't. No, it was Jerry.
Okay. Then I
Yeah.
got that part incorrect. Okay. Like we have already mentioned, you are very well, let's say, connected with Slovenia. You even have a tattoo on your arm, like you shown it in Medvode. One of the reasons why you are, I mean, you are in very good relationships with guys from Metalsteel. Can you maybe for the beginning explain us how did the whole collaboration came about? I mean, you also played together in your tribute band Sabbath, Judas Sabbath. So how did the
Well,
whole
you know
friendship
how it
started?
really happened is like the very, very first time we played, the very first time I played Slovenia, I was actually in Vicious Rumors. And we did a show together with Agent Steel. And then I met a bunch of wonderful people that night. But then the next time when Helstar finally came back as a headliner, I met a bunch of beautiful friends, and Metal Steel guys were part of it. A girl that I met named Andrea at the time, when she was young. Now she's married with children, and she was at the show. And yeah, and she goes, "You probably won't remember. I never forget you." And we had a day off, and there was another metal show, and I met her and a bunch of her friends, and then I gave her a ride home, and all those friends and stuff like that, and then just young metalheads, and I had such a wonderful time. Then I kind of started feeling like I had a connection with Slovenia, and then I decided to put together a European chapter of my tribute band called Sabbath Judas Sabbath. And I wanted it to start with a Slovenian band. And I remember Metalsteel. So I reached out, and immediately they said, "We would love to do it." So that was the first European Sabbath Judas Sabbath ever, was the Metalsteel guys. So from that moment on, my life started turning into almost like, man, maybe I should move to Slovenia. I mean, yeah. I mean, they even told me what my name was. Yeah, Giannis. I'm like, okay, Giannis Bond. Yeah, I'm like, okay. So then me and Rock, we went to the tattoo, or no, a friend of theirs did tattoos. He came over, and I got the Slovenian flag, and Rock got the Sabbath Judas Sabbath logo. And ever since then, we have been brothers, family, and all their family, all their mom and dads, all the way down to the kiddies. When I came to Slovenia, I was family. I was no longer, just a friend of ours from Texas. No, I was family. And that's kind of how it started. And, to this day, who's to say never? I think really at the end of the day, and I spent some time in some beautiful areas of Greece too, but only for economic reasons. Now that I found out that taxes are really high in Slovenia, I think that, at some point before, all I'm doing is waiting to retire from my day job, which is going to be only another year. I'm going to move to Europe. I'm not going to stay here. And I just don't like the way things are going here. I live in Texas because it's cheap. I complain all the time. People go, "Well, why do you live there?" I go, "Well, where else are you going to live in America and share a 3-bedroom house with somebody and only have to pay $600 a month?
Oh.
Nowhere." Yeah. See, Texas is cheap. It's very, and gas, guess what our gas is down to now? See, because you guys go by liters.
Yeah.
Right now at the store where I go to, Gas is $2.05 a gallon.
So gallon is like 5 liters or something like that.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
I fill up my car for $22. So give or take 24 euro. I fill up my car, and so when you think about that, I hate the summers. I hate the heat. I hate the humidity. I just, everything. I hate the way this whole goddamn country is going. But when you think about it, where else are you going to live that cheap? So, and I live in a nice Beaver Cleaver neighborhood. I call it Beaver Cleaver because it reminds me of the 50s when all your neighbors were nice. Everybody wore a suit in the morning. All the moms wore a dress with pearls on when they sent the kids off to school, and yeah, all my neighbors are nice and I'm the only weirdo, but they all know that I'm a cool guy. And, Halloween is a big deal for me here and all the kids love coming to my house. But yeah, it's so, but, really at the end of the day, that's how it all started was that, the Slovenians were the first European Sabbath, Judas Sabbath. And I fell in love with you guys' culture, the way you guys think, your kindness, just it's hard to explain. Here people are in America are rude. They just are. They don't have any compassion. And I guess, and then not only that, the scenery of Slovenia is beautiful. It kind of reminds me of the California of Europe because it has everything, the mountains, lakes, and you're not too far from the sea.
yeah.
So
Here
it's,
is everything is very
yeah.
very close. And in all these years, you probably also went, I guess, sightseeing that you have already mentioned. That was also my next question. And what made the biggest impression on you about Slovenian natural sites?
Well, like I said, it's just that all the natural stuff you have that reminds me of California because see, I was raised in California. So it's a very confusing story. Although I was born in Texas and raised through my younger years, my older sister, which she's still alive and she's my closest fan and follower, um, she got lucky and moved to California in the 70s. And she developed a really great life. And she talked to my parents because I was raised in a bad neighborhood here in Houston. So my family was poor. And so I was raised, we called it the barrio, So you probably seen movies about the Mexican gangsters and all that. I lived in one of those neighborhoods.
Ah, interesting.
And so, right. So my sister said, I want James to come live with me. I want him out of that neighborhood because he's going to end up like those other people. And I hate to say this, but I would say that at least 8 out of 10 of my friends that I was raised with in school have all been to prison. Some of them already dead, some of them still in prison because the only way of life they knew was crime. And so she moved me to California. And that's where my real personality developed. And then that's when I discovered UFO and scorpions and all that stuff. So now I'm in high school, in the 70s, and everybody's listening to loudmouth Ted Nugent and Aerosmith and Bad Company, and I'm going like, no, man, check this out. Who's that? UFO? What the hell's UFO? I go, it's UFO, stupid. Yeah. And then Scorpions. Oh, this is devil music. I'm like, devil music. Now, just think about it. What is really devil music? Jesus, yeah. Because it was so heavy and underground at the time. And that's where my love for heavy metal, it was the European heavy metal movement that consumed me. But yeah, I'm a Texifornian. So yeah, living here, it is cheaper. See, back in those days, California was a very nice place to live. It was kind of Beaver Cleaver. I don't think my sister and brother-in-law were paying that much money for rent and all that. But now when you live in California, you have to live with 5 different families just to afford it.
Yeah, definitely. I heard that the taxation there is quite heavy. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I stay in Houston,
Mm.
where it's cheap.
Yeah, here for gas, like like you mentioned, here is like now the price is I guess 145 or so. So yeah, per
Per
five
liter,
liters you pay. I mean, for my car, there's like I guess
80
55,
euro to
60
fill it
euro.
up.
So, so something like that. But yeah, on the other hand, I guess like you said, an experience our healthcare system is it has its bad sides, but yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. I can still get my health checkups for free every time I need it. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and they took care of me, and I'm not even a citizen there. That's the beauty of it, So it's yeah. I mean, when you start thinking of it that way, I mean, yeah, they took care of me very well.
hmm so can you maybe also tell us what else is in the work for you? I mean, like we have already touched, you are slowly putting together a follow-up to your Devil's Masquerade, and your, let's say, daily work era is slowly coming to an end. So you will retired soon. What else is?
Well, I want to do a solo project, just call it Rivera, and definitely want the Slovenians involved in a song or two. And I have some other members in Texas that, would love to write some songs for me. But, I think at the end of the day, and like I told you, because I know that, you know, what I say right now and what will happen, is two different things. But right now, my heart is telling me you are not going to die here in Texas. You're going to die somewhere in Europe where you belong. And I'm fine with that. So, where I'm going to move, I have no idea. But once I retire from my daily job and I move to Europe, whether it's Slovenia, Greece, wherever it's affordable, um, if I start a solo project, then think how much I can tour and do shows. You see, because that's my market. My market is not here in America. In America, yeah, metal is doing good. We have some great festivals. We have that new one called Hell's Heroes that's right here in Houston. And people come from all over the world now for it, just like Keep It True or whatever. And there's another one called Maryland Death Fest. There's a couple of them. But metal will never be what it used to be. And that's because you have these stupid TV shows that are just making these people stars out of fucking singing and not really even singing. And then you got these Justin Biebers and these fucking, what are her name, Taylor Swift shit going on. It's just never going to happen here. Again, that's what people are concerned. And then the rap and the hip hop is just humongous here now, And so, Europe is where I need to be. While I have a voice still, I truly believe that I can still sing the way I'm singing now for another 10, maybe 15 years. I don't know. Perfectly. And I'd rather spend the rest of my days over there just playing shows everywhere and anywhere and enjoying life and being who I want to be. And that is something I know will happen. When, I'm not quite sure. Where, I don't know. But I know I am not going to die here in Houston, Texas. No way.
And what is your take on the whole fact that, let's say, metal is still, I guess, stronger here in Europe than in the USA? I mean, because here, I mean, now in global society where everything is online and available at like in a with a click or two, what's your take on the whole thing? Why the metal still is here? I mean, maybe because everything started here with Black Sabbath and all that, or
No, it's because people over there are smart and people over there don't treat metal as, oh, yeah, this is cool right now, but in another 5 years, I'll be into this. Metal is a way of life in Europe. That's the difference. So no matter how old you get, you're always going to be into metal. And you have children. Those children are going to grow up listening to metal. They have children. Those children are going to grow up listening to metal because it's a way of life, not a trend.
Yeah,
That's the big difference.
Yeah, once you're in, you can't escape. Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're cursed forever, Yeah, exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Whether it's the UK, Germany, Black Sabbath has probably a lot to do with where it all originated. But at the end of the day, especially like in Germany, Slovenia, Greece, I mean, where else are you gonna? I mean, you go there. And here's the other beautiful thing. You walk around there in leather pants, long coat, looking like a damn vampire. Nobody looks at you and frowns. They actually smile. Oh, cool dude. Yeah. Here, people are like, what the hell is that? Yeah. Well, you know what? Get a life. And it's just like, that's the difference. It's just that metal is a way of life in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was everything from my side. Big honor, and I'm very happy that we finally were able to get around to do this.
Yes.
Also, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all guys in the band, and of course your family. Do you maybe have any closing thoughts that you would like to share with your fans, our fans?
Well, of course, I mean, I've said it somewhere along the lines in this whole interview, but I mean, Slovenia knows there's a special place in my heart for you guys, always, and it's just weird how I wish I didn't live so far away. I would love to come over to your house, knock on your door, and go, "Hey, Merry Christmas. Here's some cookies." Yeah, they got a little bit of marijuana in them, but no, I'm just kidding. But you know what? And that's the part that I want to tell the fans is I'm sorry I'm so far away from you. To not be able to see you on a daily basis because you're special to me. All of you, my band members, your families, the fans, the friends, and it hurts when holidays come around and you can't be with them. But I will be back, as Arnold says. I'll be back soon. Yeah. Terminator 10, get to the chopper now, yeah. But yes, we'll be back, Slovenia. And it won't be 9 years. Trust me. It'll be pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. Really looking forward to it. To have a beer and a good conversation like this about good old metal. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The most that I liked about your interview was it was personal. We talked about a lot of stuff. It wasn't just about these simple questions. Like I've done interviews where like, okay, next question, and then oh, okay, next question. There's no compassion there. It's kind of like I don't even know why I did this interview, but and then they don't even have any real history about you. You did your research, so you're amazing, and that I really appreciate.